She wasn't asking the universe for success. She was just asking it to let one thing work. Her name was Amina. That morning, Amina woke up with her chest already tight. Rent was due in 3 days. Her mom had called the night before, her voice a fragile mix of hope and concern. Any news on the job? A question that felt less like an inquiry and more like a prayer she was entrusting to her daughter. The weight of that question, of all the unspoken expectations and fears it carried, had settled heavily in the quiet of her small room. She had an interview that morning. It wasn't a dream job, not the kind she had mapped out for herself in a past life filled with ambition and brightly colored daydreams. It was just something stable. Something to stop the constant, weary explaining to relatives, to neighbors, to the landlord. Something to silence the gnawing voice in her own head that whispered of failure with every passing day. The power had gone out overnight, a common occurrence that still felt like a personal slight. Her phone, her only connection to the world and the interview's location, was at a dwindling 5%. It was a small detail, but it felt like the first of many hurdles in a race she was already losing. She dressed quietly, a practiced art in a home shared with her younger siblings. Their soft, even breaths were a reminder of who she was doing this for. Every movement was deliberate, from the way she slipped into her best blouse to the careful, precise knot she tied in her headscarf. She practiced her answers in the mirror, her reflection looking back with a determination that felt borrowed. I'm a fast learner. I thrive in a team environment. The words sounded hollow, rehearsed, but she repeated them until they felt a little less like lies. She forced a smile, holding it until her cheeks ached, hoping the muscle memory would kick in when it mattered. Outside, the road was already loud, a symphony of urban chaos. Matatas hooted, their engines groaning as they jostled for space. People rushed past, their faces set with a shared, urgent purpose. Everyone was chasing something, a deadline, a paycheck, a dream. The air was thick with the smell of exhaust fumes and street food, the very pulse of a city that never seemed to rest. She joined the current, her own small anxieties merging with the collective rush. She ran. Her sensible interview shoes, usually so reliable, felt clumsy on the uneven pavement. She spotted her bus, number 14, approaching the crowded stage. She raised her arm, a silent plea in the chaotic morning. And then, the matata didn't stop. It swerved past her, the conductor hanging from the door, his face indifferent as he shouted a destination she couldn't hear over the din. It sped on, leaving her in a cloud of dust and disbelief. A knot of frustration tightened in her stomach. Another one passed. Full. Bodies were pressed against the windows, a mosaic of tired faces staring out into the morning. There was no room, not even for one more person clinging to a desperate hope. As she waved, frantic now, her phone slipped from her hand. It hit the tarmac with a sickening crack that echoed louder than the city's noise. She picked it up. A spider web of shattered glass spread across the screen. The 5% battery icon flickered, then died. Her map, her contact number, her digital lifeline, all gone. She felt it then. That familiar pressure behind the eyes, the sting of unshed tears that had become a constant companion. It wasn't the sharp, cathartic release of crying. It was just the dull, heavy ache of being strong for too long. The exhaustion of holding it all together when everything around her seemed determined to fall apart. The world swam for a moment, the bustling street blurring into a watercolor of motion and noise. Instead of chasing anymore, she stopped. The frantic energy that had propelled her forward just moments before drained away, leaving her empty. She crossed the road, moving against the tide of commuters, and sat down at a small, unassuming cafe. It was one of those places you only notice when life forces you to slow down, a quiet pocket of stillness in a world obsessed with speed. The clink of ceramic on saucer was a gentle counterpoint to the city's harsh rhythm. She ordered tea she barely touched. The warm cup did little to chase away the chill that had settled deep in her bones. She watched the steam curl into the air, a fleeting, graceful dance that felt a world away from her own clumsy struggle. She stared out the window, no longer seeing the people, just a blur of movement, a life she was no longer a part of. The interview was a lost cause. The day was a write-off. A woman at the next table, her hair streaked with silver and her eyes full of a gentle wisdom, noticed her shaking hands. She had been watching Amina for a few moments, a silent observer of her quiet despair. "Tough morning?" she asked, her voice soft and kind, cutting through the fog of Amina's thoughts. Amina looked up, startled. A short, brittle laugh escaped her lips, a sound devoid of any humor. "You have no idea." The simple acknowledgement from a stranger was enough to crack the dam she had so carefully constructed. They talked. Amina, hesitant at first, found herself recounting the morning's disasters, the broken phone, the missed bus. The conversation deepened, flowing into the well-worn channels of money stress, the weight of parental expectations, and the suffocating feeling of being late in life, of watching peers tick off milestones while she felt stuck at the starting line. The woman listened, truly listened, nodding in a way that said, "I see you. I understand." Before leaving, the woman smiled, a genuine expression that reached her kind eyes. "My cousin is hiring," she said, as if it were an afterthought, a simple piece of information. "Nothing fancy, a small logistics company. But it's honest work, and they treat their people well." She scribbled a number on a napkin and pushed it across the table. "Give him a call. Tell him Sarah sent you." Amina stared at it all day. The napkin sat on her table, a fragile piece of paper holding an improbable hope. She went through the motions of her afternoon, her mind replaying the conversation, the woman's kindness, the neatly written digits. Doubt and hope wrestled within her. What if it was a dead end? What if she was just setting herself up for more disappointment? But what if she wasn't? She called that evening. Her voice trembled as she spoke the woman's name. "Sarah sent me." There was a pause on the other end, and then a warm voice replied, "Ah, yes. My cousin. She has a good eye for people. Can you come in tomorrow?" 2 weeks later, she signed a contract. The office was small, the work was challenging, but the atmosphere was supportive. The offer included better pay than the job she'd missed, flexible hours that allowed her to help her siblings after school, and even a transport allowance. It was more than she had allowed herself to hope for. A few days into her new role, a piece of news circulated through the city's gossip mill. The company she was supposed to have interviewed with? They never called anyone back. The firm had been a sham, a front for a fraudulent scheme. They had collected application fees and personal data from hundreds of desperate job seekers before vanishing completely, leaving behind a trail of broken trust and empty bank accounts. The interview she had missed, the one that had felt like the end of the world, had been a trap. Sometimes the universe doesn't say no. It says, "Not this one. Not this way. Not yet." It closes a door not to punish, but to guide you towards an open window you hadn't even noticed. So if today delayed you, embarrassed you, or broke something you needed, don't assume it was bad luck. Don't rush to label it as failure. Pause for a moment. Breathe. Look around. The missed bus, the cracked screen, the derailed plan, it might not have been a setback. It might have been protection. It might have been a redirection. It might have been grace.